Hello, everyone. This is Johnnie Taylor, City Manager of the City of Lexington in North Carolina. Today, I have a special guest with me, and his name is Tom Johnson. And Mr. Tom Johnson grew up in Lexington in this area and has been working in the drinking water and wastewater industry for 35 years. He started in the industry as a wastewater treatment plant operator, and he's worked for 5 local municipalities, along with also working in the private sector. He has served in the roles of operator, plant manager, operations coordinator, and project manager of drinking water and wastewater treatment systems. Tom's in his 5th year of working for the City of Lexington as Water Resources Director, where he is responsible for Lexington's drinking water treatment and distribution facilities. He's also over Lexington's wastewater treatment and collection facilities. To summarize it, water is his passion. Tom and his wife live in North Davidson County, where they have raised 3 children. Tom, welcome to the Queuing It Up podcast.
Thank you. You've had some really distinguished guests, so I'm really pleased to be here. And I brought you something.
Okay.
I got you a utilities hat.
Well, thank you so much.
You can wear that.
Let's put it on now.
Because you're the leader of this team. So
That kind of fits us. Before we talk about Lexington Water, where did your passion for water come from?
I'd say, as a kid, just we were always playing around water or finding a place to fish, and just growing up, just my love for fishing. And then, understanding, seeing how water quality and pollution impacts a body of water, and just what that means, for me. So water's always just been a part of my life.
So people may actually take water for granted in our society. So how would you explain what the Lexington Water Department is to our residents?
Well, I agree. I think that water is often taken for granted. It's a precious resource, and as far as our water department, that's a group of people that Lexington has, that work for Lexington, that protect that precious resource. They come to work every day to make sure that drinking water is treated properly and delivered to the kitchen sink. Pipes are maintained. Wastewater is collected and treated properly before it's released back into the stream, and that happens 24/7, 365 days a week. And those guys, those folks work around the clock with little fanfare. They don't expect, a pat on the back. They do it because they love their job and they're protecting that resource. And in my mind, those are the heroes that we have.
Yeah, and you can see them out here all the time,
They're always ready. They're always, it's demanding, it's tough work, and they're there doing it.
So Tom, on most days, just like all of us, when we come in, we've kind of got some goals in our mind, some things we want to accomplish. What are some of your goals as the Water Resource Director when you come to work on any given day?
Well, I guess, the first goal for me, number one, is protecting that resource, providing, our residents with the services, and protecting our employees. Those are the number one things. And then there's the daily things that we have to tackle that ultimately achieve those goals.
Sure. So there are some things happening we're trying to work on with our infrastructure and some of the challenges that we face. What are some of the things that we're trying to do that you're really excited about right now with our infrastructure?
So one of the big projects we're trying to, we've gotten started on trying to accomplish now is our water meters out in the system. Those meters are old and antiquated, and we're working to upgrade those meters with new meters. It's advanced metering infrastructure. It gives us more data to analyze, and daily we can kind of monitor how the system is working, and it puts a lot of data at our fingertips. We can really see where we're going as a water utility.
And so, Tom, I know, can you talk a little bit about an example of how AMI benefits a resident now versus how the standard system that we've had for many years?
Yeah, sure. So the way it's been in the past and the way it is for a lot of utilities is there will be a leak for a homeowner. And the homeowner doesn't realize that there's a leak or there's a toilet hanging up or what have you, and they get their bill at the end of the month, and their bill's high, and they go, "What happened?" So they call, our customer service folks and say, "My bill's high and it shouldn't be." We'll go out and inspect it and try to see if we can help pinpoint the problem. Sometimes we can figure it out. Sometimes you can't. The leaks are hard to find. So we get that straightened out, or we think we've come to a conclusion, and then we have to wait another month for the next bill to see if we figured it out. So now we're on bill number 2, and it's high. With advanced metering infrastructure, you have real-time data. So our customer service folks, our billing folks, can see the meter at my house. If a toilet was, for instance, stuck open and running water, our billing folks are going to get an alarm and say, "Hey, Tom Johnson's address has got continuous flow." So instead of waiting 30 to 60 days to figure out what was wrong, we now know in hours. And a quick email or phone call can go, "You have a problem," or "Hey, you have a leak," or something to that effect, or "The meter's not operating correctly." So those kind of things have always been delayed for a month to figure out what's going on, and now it's real-time data.
Sure thing. Sometimes I think, I might feel some calls where folks see us working, in the neighborhood, and we're working on installing the AMI system in, and maybe it's 3 or 4 houses down, and then all of a sudden they see the crew just pull out. And then they're like, "Well, what's going on? Are they going to finish the job? I mean, what is happening there?"
So there's a method to that madness, honestly. So there's a certain amount of days or period that we can operate within a billing cycle. So if our crews are on your street and they're making their way down the street, and let's say they're on the last day of that billing cycle, well, tomorrow they can't change meters on that street again, because the new billing cycle, you can't change meters while you're billing. So we would literally have to pull off of that street and go somewhere else, most likely for 2 to 3 weeks until the next billing cycle. So and there's other factors, like if it's a particular size of meter that is different. So, and then, what work is required while we're changing the meter. So there are other factors, but most of the time it's because of the billing, and we're out of time in that cycle. So we'll have to move.
Okay, so, we talked about AMI and the project and how it's benefiting the city. What other improvements do you see the city kind of benefiting from decades from now as a result of what we're doing right now?
Right. So, we talked a little, I mentioned about drinking water treatment and also wastewater treatment. So those facilities are aging, and, we've been working through engineering and trying to come up with a capital improvement plan on what it's going to take to replace a drinking water plant, or replace a wastewater treatment plant, or there's aspects at those plants that also will need utilities that will need upgrade as well. So that takes a tremendous amount of engineering and a tremendous amount of planning. So it takes quite a bit of time to get that. So those two things we've been working on. We're still a ways out, but we're working on having that plan so that we know years from now what we're going to have to replace, what infrastructure, and what that cost would look like.
Okay, and I know we talk about our water plants. Can you let folks know about how many gallons per day that we kind of push through our system?
Sure. So on the drinking water side, we have the drinking water plant can make up to 9.5 million gallons per day of water. Okay, so, but on a typical day, we're pumping about 3 million gallons per day out into the system. And on the wastewater side, we can treat up to 6.5 million gallons per day of wastewater flow coming into the plant. And currently we're averaging about almost 3 million gallons per day at the plant.
That is a lot of water.
It is.
And quite clearly, it has to be a lot of effort that goes into managing both sides of that process. The distribution as well.
And the collection system.
So questions always come up. People say, well, how safe is our drinking water? Can you talk a little bit about the process that our water goes through?
Yeah, so the drinking water, well, and wastewater too, we have to meet both EPA and state regulations, and so there's required rules and regulations for how we treat the water, the methods you use, and also there's limits. So we have to do sampling and meet those requirements, and we have to report that monthly. That's both on the water and wastewater side. So we have to meet those federal and state level limits, standards for drinking water and wastewater treatment. So that happens every day. And then there's, when you talk about safety, there's also, you have to keep your system reliable, and you have to keep your system safe from sabotage or anything like that. So there's security that has to happen as well. So we are working every day to maintain our system and keep it operational, and working every day to meet limits that the state and EPA roll out, and also just protecting it and keeping it safe.
Yeah, so we're not only providing safe drinking water, but we're also providing safe wastewater that goes back into our environment.
Because we have to protect the environment.
Absolutely. So what are some things that you'd like to share with our residents about Lexington water resources that maybe they don't know?
Well, I'd say a few things, though. On the wastewater side, a lot of folks don't realize that our system is very large. Almost 200 miles of collection pipes and pump stations and infrastructure that stretch from Southmont all the way to Welcome. So our folks have to monitor and maintain that every day. That's one thing that people don't realize. Another thing is a lot of people don't realize that it's a 24/7. I mentioned that it happens day and night and never stops. The flow does not stop. So we have folks that work around the clock, making sure that the wastewater plant is running and operating, and that the drinking water plant is running and operating like it should. And then just the tremendous effort it takes to maintain a system that large. Because you're going to have water main breaks, those, and leaks and that kind of stuff. It just happens. It comes it's the nature of the beast. So that takes a tremendous amount of resources and manpower to maintain. So a lot of folks just don't realize that.
Well, Tom, I really want to say thank you to you again, and then also to all of the team members of Lexington Water Resources, for all of the wonderful work that's done, all of the calls that they get after hours, and to keep the water flowing in the city of Lexington and surrounding areas. Just an outstanding part of the overall city team. And I must give you credit for your leadership there, and want you to know how much you are appreciated.
Appreciate that.
And also, thank you for coming on Queuing It Up for this podcast. It's been very informative, and we're grateful to have you here in our organization, the City of Lexington.
Thank you.
Okay, so to learn more about Lexington Water Resources, visit lexingtonnc.gov, click on the Government tab, and then after you do that, go to the Departments tab and visit the Water Resources Department page. For updates on future episodes, follow us on Facebook at City of Lexington and on the streaming platform you're listening to this episode on. If you learned something new and got some value from this podcast, leave us a review or a thumbs up. We'll see you next time on Queuing It Up.